You shouldn't have to wreck your health to do good in the world. After decades leading big mission nonprofits, like the Rothko Chapel to Planned Parenthood to the Houston Area Women's Center, Emilee Whitehurst hit pause at the top of her career. Burned out, raising 2 teens, and caring for a mom in breast cancer treatment, she walked away from the grind to ask what she's really worth without the title. In this episode, she talks about the courage it took to step off the hamster wheel, and why a power pause may save more than your job. It may save your life. Share this episode with the nonprofit warrior in your life and with family and friends. And consider making a donation at therose.org so women who give everything don't lose their health.
Welcome to Let's Talk About Your Breast, a podcast brought to you by The Rose, Breast Imaging Center of Excellence and a Texas treasure. I'm Dorothy Gibbons, your host and co-founder of The Rose. During this season, you'll also be hearing from co-host Roxanne Hayford and others as we bring you stories from survivors, physicians, caregivers, researchers, employees, and supporters. These are real people sharing difficult times, celebrations, and personal stories of hope, despair, and faith. We welcome your suggestions, and we would also love to hear about your story. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for supporting The Rose and our mission. Together we are saving lives. Emilee, it is so wonderful to have you here today. You are a big part of my life, my ALF buddy, American Leadership Forum, and we've known each other now since 2011. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, but first, as I told you, I have to start with the fact that you are one of my heroes.
Oh.
And what you've done here at The Rose is so extraordinary. And both my grandmothers and my mother have had breast cancer, so I'm just deeply indebted to you. And when I look at the difference in the kind of care my mother received compared to my grandmother's, it's night and day. Mm-hmm. And I know that you've been a part of a movement to make that possible for women, and I just think you're amazing.
Oh, thank you, Emilee.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
So, okay. And now about me.
All right.
Right? Let's see. I studied human biology.
Which, I didn't know what that was.
Well, it would just kept me from having to study plants and animals.
Oh.
I just did biology of humans.
Okay.
It was very focused. But that's actually not true. What that program was it was a combination of the biological life sciences as well as the social sciences. So it was a combination of psychology, sociology, anthropology, and biology. And it was really a wonderful foundation for everything I've done, although you might not know it just by looking at it because people don't know what human biology is.
I know.
And I thought maybe I would do medical school, but in the end I got sucked into social justice community organizing and didn't have time to take the MCATs.
Yes, but you did go on to Harvard
Yes.
to get a degree in divinity.
Yes,
right?
yes. So human biology, then to get a master's of divinity. Mm-hmm. And ultimately I got ordained as a Presbyterian minister, which was the denomination I'd grown up in as a child. And I was very fortunate to have grown up in a church with one of the very first ordained women. So I grew up with she was the associate pastor, and
really,
yeah, she was remarkable woman, and I'm sure that planted a seed of a possibility for me. Mm-hmm. Although when I told my parents that I was going to go to divinity school, they were really surprised because at that point I hadn't really been a church type person for many years, But I was doing community organizing in Oakland around youth incarceration and police violence, and I felt like the churches ought to be, I had heard of churches involved in social justice struggles, and I didn't really see the churches standing up for these young people who were being thrown into jail. The state was putting more money into prisons and youth incarceration than education, and I felt like something is going on here that's so profound and deep that I want to understand it, and I also want to cultivate my own spiritual reserves to take on what obviously at that point it had become clear to me was going to be a long-term struggle. So, yeah, that's why I went to divinity school. And then I did end up getting ordained, and I served a church in Lawrence, Kansas, among other places. But I was the associate pastor at the First Presbyterian Church in Lawrence, Kansas.
Oh, my goodness.
And then moved on to doing more nonprofit leadership. I directed the Interfaith Action of Central Texas, which is a multi-religious organization that provides direct services and community building across religious differences. And then moved to Houston to be the executive director of the Rothko Chapel, which is this extraordinary institution. And it sort of integrates art, spirituality, and human rights around a sanctuary that Mark Rothko, the artist, designed. And from there, I went to Planned Parenthood to advocate for women, the full range of women's reproductive health. And most recently, I was the CEO at the Houston Area Women's Center, which is Houston's primary domestic and sexual violence assault center. And we, while I was there, built 135 apartments for families fleeing violence and created a 5.5-acre campus called One Safe Place Houston.
Wow. And didn't you go there right after COVID or during COVID? Or
Yes, I was there during COVID. I started before COVID. And, so that was, but one of the interesting things about that experience, I mean, there's so many things that came out of that, but I remember in those early days, we had to, we weren't even supposed to be out on the streets, and our folks have to be out. I mean, we were running a shelter with hundreds of people.
Right.
We ended up, during the COVID times, running 3 separate shelters because the spike in violence was so acute.
Really?
And we got our staff designated as, in effect, first responders so that we could be out doing the work that we do.
Right. Amazing. Amazing. Well, now, it sounds like you have worked for a very long time. I mean, really. And what did you decide to do this last year or so that is just incredibly profound for a woman to do? And I'm so interested in, how did you get to that decision? What motivated it? How did you know you could do it? So let's talk about this intentional pause, this power pause, sabbatical that you decided. I mean, you were at the peak of your career, Emilee, and you said, I'm going to take some time off.
I think when I emailed you that I had made that decision, you sent back something like, "You always were a rebel." So you said something like that to me. Well, I had worked obviously very hard, but that anything of that magnitude is a team effort. It's a collective effort. So, but really what happened on my account was I have 2 daughters, 2 teenage daughters. I'm a single mom. And I really started to think about what kind of regret I might have if I had spent the remaining years of their time at home.
Now let's talk about how old they are. They're not driving yet, right?
No, and this was a key part of my decision, actually, Dorothy, because as long as I'm the chauffeur, I get key quality time in the car. And if I had waited, even just a year longer or something, my eldest would be driving. And I really felt like if I didn't take this time for them, I would regret it. And the other thing is, I was so in this work that I didn't realize I was kind of not doing so good. I didn't have time to exercise. I didn't have time to leisure. Every relationship in my life, every moment of my life was organized around helping the Houston Area Women's Center achieve this objective. And I think I feel so indebted to my family for helping. They bought into this goal and this vision. But there was a point at which it felt like I need to shift gears, or else I might have a lifetime of regret. And I had to.
Was this in meditation you discovered that, or just an overnight thing? You woke up one day?
Well,
how do we trust that kind of feeling?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. Once I had this thought, you know what? I don't have to keep doing this. I just had this thought. I felt so committed to finishing it, and I had additional objectives, and we would open this new One Safe Place Houston, but there was there's always more money to raise, and always more capital improvements to make, and always more. But I definitely had this moment where I thought to myself, I don't have to do this.
Interesting.
And by the next day, just chronic pain and my shoulders had relented a little bit. I still had some, but I had a pretty palpable physical response of elation and relaxation, just to the idea that this is not necessarily something I need to continue to do. And what has ultimately transpired has been a very interesting kind of personal healing journey for the last now 10 months. And I just want to stop and say, we were talking about this before we got on the podcast, that this is an extraordinarily privileged decision to be able to make. Mm-hmm. I'm living off my retirement, which is not awesome if you're not quite at the retirement age because you're taking a big tax hit. But nevertheless, I had some money saved to live on. Right. And I know that's not true for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so it felt like a real fortunate moment to be able to decide to do this. And I had to relearn how to rest. I didn't know how to rest. I truly didn't. I didn't know how to.
How do you know? Give
because
me an example.
I would if I sat still for a minute. So I've dropped my kid. And also, just to say, I'm now doing all the things that I had people help me do. So we're driving carpool, doing laundry, doing this. So it's not like I'm just laying around eating bonbons, right? I'm still got stuff to do, but there is this window of time in the middle of the day, theoretically, where I could just do whatever I've wanted to do or needed to do. And I made this deal with myself that if I didn't have to do it right then, like leave to pick up carpool, and what I'd rather do is rest, that I would rest. And that meant I wouldn't do the laundry, and I wouldn't do the dishes in the sink, and I would feed the dogs. That felt like critical. But, all those things that I was just so used to doing, and my mental life was spent cataloging all the things I needed to do and hadn't yet done, and I didn't know how to sit and be still. And I didn't, and I remember, it's sort of in a way silly now, but I can remember laying on the couch thinking, oh my God, if I just let myself lay here, I may never get up. I may never ever want to do anything ever again. I'm just going to be a sloth for the rest of my life. And, so then things that, you start kind of getting in touch with the questions about worth. What, is my worth something that is inherent to me, or is it contingent on my ability to deliver and produce? And I had to really wrestle with it. It was very deep because if I'm just laying on the couch instead of producing or doing or delivering or accomplishing, it made me realize that there was some internal struggle around worth that was driving me. Not. I was so passionate about all the work that I've done, so I don't want to say that it came out of only an insecurity, but to drive myself at the pace that I had been driving myself, and to really required me to set aside my health and well-being, and that starts begging some questions about what do you think you're worth? And it was like I woke up from a spell. Honestly, Dorothy, I felt like I can't believe I felt like I had to live every minute calculated so that I could deliver, every minute. I was always thinking, well, that'll take 5 hours and this will take 6 hours. And I bet that's 2 hours and I don't have the hours. So how am I going to get this just, on and on. And I just was like, I don't have to live like that.
So in your opinion, do you think the nonprofit aspect of nonprofits contributed to that hamster wheel type?
No, I think it's our culture. Okay. I think it's our general culture around work. But I will say, I think being in the nonprofit arena adds a different valence to it, because in my mind, it was worth doing. It was worth putting myself aside consistently for years and years, and potentially compromising my family's quality of life just because I'm always going. It was worth it because the cause demanded it. And I don't regret anything of what I did, but I'm very, very grateful to have kind of woken up from the spell just in time to spend at least 20 hours a week doing carpool with my daughters. I mean, who knew how much that was fun that was going to be?
And that is interesting because that is talk about a luxury.
Right.
That is very much a luxury for a working mother.
It
and
is.
You're not having to go when the others aren't doing it and all of that.
No, those talks in the car have been priceless. And I had never had that since I've worked full-time always. So it's been a real blessing to get to do this.
So how did you once a spell, or you realized you'd been under a spell, talk about how you knew you were getting back in touch with Emilee.
Well, that's been a process. I kind of remember tracking back like it was between high school and college. Okay. That was sort of the last time I can remember where, at least for my own self, I didn't feel like I had some major goal or objective that I had to accomplish. That was this wonderful period it was like the last experience of youth.
Right.
And so I don't know who Emilee is. Like, she's not that person anymore, but she's certainly more than these roles that I've been undertaking. So it's been a process of kind of reconnecting with myself and reintroducing myself to myself.
Women are going to relate to this, Emilee.
Okay.
I mean,
okay. I haven't really talked about it with you, but this is my first time to like externally process.
I know.
I don't have a therapist yet.
But, well, you've been your therapist.
Yeah, I've been my own therapist, been my own loving companion, trying to figure out how to be my own best friend instead of my own worst enemy, in our mind.
That. Well said. Well said. And I know you shared this about realizing these emotions that were coming up.
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
And talk about that. That's what struck me so much, because I thought, and I'm going to go to how I've been feeling, over these last few years. There's just a part of you that goes a little numb.
Oh, yeah.
There's a part of you that just, I'm just going to get up and do this. I know what I got to get done the next day.
Yeah. So I remember one day I was laying, I think I maybe was sort of taking a midday nap, doing my rest practice. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on with me? I'm having all these physical sensations that are unpleasant, and I'm having all these emotional, what is the matter? And then I realized, oh my gosh, I think I'm having a feeling. I am being present to my feelings. This is a feeling.
Right.
This is what a feeling is. It's an embodied experience. It's not just a word or an idea. It's an actual embodied experience of, whatever that feeling was at the time, rage or anger or sorrow or grief or regret, all these things that, I would say kind of jokingly, but not really, I don't have time for feelings. Feelings get in the way. They are not part of my...
You compartmentalize.
You put them over here.
You say, someday I'm going to go back and work on that, but not today.
And let me just say, I do have a practice of yoga, and I've been practicing Tai Chi and Qigong with a wonderful teacher. And so...
But that wasn't what drove you to this.
No, but it has been hugely helpful in this process, because what I now want people to hear, if there's anything, which is that the body has profound wisdom. It knows so much. It's not just your head. Your head is your body. Your body is your head. There's an integrated creature that's moving through the world. Right. And if in my case, I'll just speak for myself, if my premise is that any bodily sense of feeling or emotion is a liability, then I'm not actually leveraging all of the wisdom that I can access, because the body is wise.
True.
It knows, but if I'm cut off and I don't pay attention, then I'm missing cues. And in my case, I missed cues about that I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling good. And I wasn't on the right trajectory for my well-being.
There's a lot of talk now in some circles about the heart coherence, that if we're not in touch with that heart part of us, and this is what it's sounding like you're saying. How do you even describe that? We all know what that means or feels like, but being able to live from your heart, it sounds really woo-woo in a way.
Woo-woo. Well, and this is where I think that nonprofit sector can be a little confusing, because I would say I was living from my heart. I was living my passion. It felt like such an incredible privilege to be leading the Houston Area Women's Center, to get to work with those incredible women and to be a part of a long-standing movement to provide safety for people fleeing violence and healing in the wake of horrific harm. So it wasn't that. It's just that at some point the grind of being a mom full-time, being a full-time CEO, and the culture that requires the way that requires you to function, at least for me, and I suspect for many others, is not conducive to my holistic well-being.
Some folks are able to walk that path, but after a while...
Yeah. I think it's different for everybody. Like, some people don't need but 6 hours of sleep. I need at least 8 or 9. That's part of it. Is just, and we're never the same person from day to day. So what you need changes. And that's what I'm talking about, this practice of being in tune with your wise whole self so that you can attend to what those needs are is a practice. It's a practice.
I keep having this image of you stepping out of this old body energy into something new, but you're still making that step.
Yes, I think I'm still in this liminal state, this sort of threshold.
Yeah.
But I'm doing better than I think I was in terms of just well-being and feeling good, not having chronic headaches, not having chronic stress, not feeling like, I'm suffering.
Yeah.
But then my whole sort of zeitgeist is not healthy.
So have your girls commented on any difference in you? Or
Yeah, I think they've really noticed. Like, for a while there, I was so used to everything being just almost like a crisis that the laundry not getting done felt as dire as like us not making goal in our fundraising budget or like, the security breach at our campus. I couldn't really tell the difference between everything was like, because it was just habit. And I remember my daughter saying, "Hey, Mom, it's laundry." It's just laundry. Nobody's going to die. You got to just chill out. And I was like, you're right. But the laundry's not done. It's just laundry. So, just trying to be able to amp it down. And so I think they can tell that I'm much more present and attuned to them than I have been able to. And, they're very generous and loving with me. So they don't, say, "Yeah, you were a total nightmare. Thank God you left that job." It's not quite like that, but I think it has been a very good time for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my parents, my parents are aging. My mother is going through breast cancer treatment. So, the demands on me as a daughter, as a mother, as a sister, as a partner, really became where I wanted to put my focus, at least for now.
So as you've gone through this last 10 months, and I know you just said you're still in that stepping into or out of. Give us a description of you right now as compared to that first month, the end of that first month when you'd made this decision.
Well, I think I'm much more relaxed. I really can feel myself breathing better. And I can, if I'm getting agitated, I can sort of, I have a baseline. What I really wanted to do was find a baseline because I had lost my baseline. I had lost a sense of where the baseline needed to be. And so if I was below my baseline in terms of just being able to function and feel good and attend to the things that are the most important to me, I didn't even realize it. Does that make sense? So I wanted to establish a baseline. This is what feeling good feels like. This is what it feels like to have the systems in my house in place so I can deliver, on managing a household without it feeling like always something that has to get backburnered because there's all these 10 other things that have to get done. Or
that's interesting. That's an interesting
word
for it.
So I felt like I now feel like I have a better understanding of what my baseline is. And every day there may be some days that are tough, and at the end of the day, I dip below that baseline. But by tomorrow, I'm going to be able to get back. So I feel like right now I'm getting a pretty consistent baseline of health and well-being, joyfulness. And so when I take on my next thing, whatever that may be, I will be able to better track if I'm overexerting or overextending or putting more energy out than I have to spare. I'll know it.
So, Emilee, one time you said you wanted to have a women's retreat.
Oh, yeah.
What would that be like?
Well, what I really want to do is have some version of a retreat center that's dedicated to love, healing, and liberation. That's my vision, and maybe it'll happen. I'm working on it.
I think this whole experience of yours has brought you into something else.
Yeah.
You don't see yourself going back into that functioning, grinding.
No, I don't think
world.
I don't think I can now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that phase is done.
Yeah.
But there, Jung talks about this. I'm at 53 now, so I'm entering into a different life stage where the level of my stamina is different and my sensibility is different. I proved to myself what I needed to prove to myself, so that now I can do whatever I do next without a sense of worth in question. Yeah.
And how would you talk to someone who's thinking about this?
Well,
or would you counsel?
Oh, it's hard to say. I would hope somebody wouldn't be at the place that they would need to do a break the way I needed to do a break. Like ideally, we would not get there in the first place necessarily. But
so a month could have been as long. You could have been out for a month or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it just depends. So in my case,
did you ever take vacations?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay.
If I could have designed it, maybe I would have loved to have sort of a month or two where I just convalesced in a beautiful setting, like as if I was recovering from tuberculosis or something. Just like, I need to convalesce. But I didn't really get to do that because I'm still like I'm now have a different full-time job. It's just not compensated and it's not paid. It's not seen. But so I think probably the journey of healing recovery took a little bit longer, maybe for me than it might if somebody was in a position to just truly rest. I get to rest here and there, between this and that hour.
I don't know any woman that's working that feels like they ever really rest.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's so important to really know how to rest. And honestly, I needed to rest so severely that is almost just now after 10 months of rest, I can start really figuring out how to take care of myself. Because that takes energy. Taking care of yourself takes energy. I didn't even have the energy to do really that. Like I just was like down, unless I was going and doing for the kids or the house, I just was sort of down. And now I feel like I have the energy to kind of take care of myself consistently and figure out what that looks like at this age is different than before. And so that's what I mean, like establishing a baseline. I think for anybody considering taking this kind of a break, there's a lot of anxiety that can come up, I think, for women, especially that if they're in their late 40s or mid-50s or somewhere there, that if they step out of the workforce, they'll never be able to get back in.
That's a huge concern.
It's a big concern.
Yes.
And I'm not back in the workforce yet, so I can't assuage those concerns necessarily. I just want to believe there is a way to do life that doesn't require us to function counter to our best interests. I would like to believe we can find ways of working together and to get the things that need to get done in whether it's getting breast health care to women or protecting women from violence or I don't know.
But we don't even know what is best for us.
That's right. That's that baseline. That's me just trying to figure out, just for my own self, what does that actually look like?
Right.
What does it look like?
How would we know?
That's that body wisdom I'm talking about. Your body actually really does know what it needs. It's just having a practice of tuning into it and listening to it.
Are you going to write about this year-long experience?
Oh, I'm going to sing about it, Dorothy. I'm just going to sing about it.
No, seriously.
Oh,
have you kept journals? Have you?
I have not. I have not kept a journal. I have this little desk by my bed that I want to do it, but I haven't been able to make myself do it.
It's not that time then.
Yeah, it's not that time.
Yeah. But I just think there's so many pieces of encouragement here that women don't hear this often.
Yeah, okay.
We hear, go take care of yourself, stop putting yourself last. How do you do that?
How do you do it?
Yeah, we know we should.
If you don't, you're right. And if you don't have a retirement to, squander for the next for 10 months. No, I know. I do think there are some pretty simple basics, and I've learned this from my Tai Chi teacher. There are some pretty simple basics that if you can do, can make a huge difference. And that is just simply stop and breathe and line up your body, your bones, relax your muscles, and tune your mind into your body self. That can provide just glimpses of rest. And in some cases, if you start doing that as a practice, you can kind of get underneath the mindsets that are driving you. You can start to see them operating. And it's really liberation from these mindsets that are driving our convictions about work, and that really is counter to our wellness that we need to look at. Because if we can't shift those mindsets, then we can't really get a different outcome.
Right, we'll fall back into
Yeah.
it. Wow.
But really, people, I come out of a spiritual background, and so I do whatever language feels right for people. We're all children of God. We're unique expressions of all that is. The great cosmic mother has blessed us from the beginning, however you want to say it. Like, we don't have to prove our worth. We shouldn't feel like we have to prove our worth.
We are worthy.
We are worthy.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes. And so decisions about life decisions come out of a fundamental conviction about one's own worth. And that's a very empowering position to be in, even if you don't have a high-paying job or a career.
Right, right. Just knowing your own worth.
Know your worth.
You don't have to prove anything.
And be in community with people who reflect that back to you.
Oh, so
That's
important.
key. So it's hard to kind of know my worth alone. It's important to be in community of people who reflect that worth back to you.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Wow. I think we could have another session.
Anytime.
But I am so delighted you were able to come today.
Thank you for having me.
These are such important things for women to hear now, and especially a young woman. See, you're, to me, a young woman, and it's hard when you're in that age to make this kind of decision. So, kudos. You did it.
Thank you.
And you do look very different.
Do I?
Yes, you really do. You got
like
a glow
addicted
now.
To
Yeah.
Like, ah!
I know.
Yeah, so, sorry, that may not be pleasant to listen to, but that's what it felt like to be. That's the feeling. You don't, try and choose differently.
And you were like that.
Oh, I know.
But thanks again. So appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.